Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to IMF presentation on a Saturday morning at 9:15. I know it's hard for everyone, but including for me, but it's okay. So I'll try to make this presentation as interesting as possible. So what I'm going to do today as a start, I'm going to show a short video clip about how is it like to work at the IMF. It's only 1 minute, just to, while people are coming and just to get us going. And then I'm going to go through the presentation. There are two sides of it. I'm going to talk briefly about the IMF, what we do, how is it like to work at the IMF. A lot of the information that I'm sharing in my first half are available on the internet, so I'm not going to spend much time on that, just to give you enough background about our organization. But I want to focus on the second part, which is the recruitment programs, which is why you're probably here, okay? So by show of hands, how many of you are in the undergraduate programs? Okay, master's program? Most of you, yeah? PhD? Okay, so we got quite a few. Okay, so we have different recruitment programs for different level of education, so I'm going to go through that. How many of you are in the economics department? Okay, business, finance? What of you? Okay, math? Computer science? No. So, okay, and then law? You have law. Do you guys have HR here or not? HR or communication? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Anyone with that background? Okay, probably not. Okay, so so then I'm going to go through all the slides for the recruitment program, so see which one would be suitable for you, okay? So let's play the video.
I work for the IMF as I wanted to be a difference maker. Low-income countries is really where my heart lies, and in that I get an opportunity to make an impact on 20% of the world's population.
I found myself working on countries in fragile condition, and the immediacy of that work and the urgency of that work adds a lot of meaning to what I do here.
I work for the IMF because I can offer impartial advice to member countries to strengthen their economies so that they become more resilient.
As a lawyer, I fight money laundering and financing of terrorism.
I work in the IMF because I am part of a team that tries to propose helpful policy advice to our member countries.
I was able to witness firsthand the way the institution has responded quickly to the Ebola crisis in Africa.
When my member country is facing a challenge, I can draw on the latest research here and across the world.
And that is why.
That's why
I work for the IMF.
All right. So let's see. Okay. Full screen mode. Okay. So good morning again. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Katrina Pohan. I'm a Senior Human Resources Officer of the IMF International Monetary Fund. I'm based in Washington, D.C., along with 2,700 my colleagues. Most of us are based in Washington, D.C. area. Just a little bit of background about me so you have some idea and you can see whether this would be relevant for you. So I've been at the IMF for 16 years, and 16 years is average at the IMF. People love it there, they stay. So if you only been there for like 8 years, you're basically a baby. So most people, they stay 20 years and they stay until retire even. So that's how great the IMF is. So I've always been in human resources. I'm originally from Indonesia. I did my undergrad at the University of Indonesia. Anyone from Indonesia here? No? Okay. So, and then I worked there for 3 years at ABN AMRO Bank. It's a Dutch owned bank. And then I did my MBA at University at Buffalo in the US, in New York. So, and then after that, I was recruited by the IMF. And I started my career at the IMF as a recruiter. And then I spent in the Central HRD for about 6 years. Then I moved to Monetary and Capital Markets Department as an HR generalist. So it's like an HR representative for the department, basically as a business partner. Then I'm back now in Human Resources Department. I'm heading the Economist program, which is our flagship program for hiring PhD economists. Okay, so I'll talk about that a little bit, but I will talk about all the programs that you can probably find it useful. So who we are, okay? Okay, so this is, let me just do this thing. Okay, so the IMF, as I mentioned initially, we are based in Washington, D.C. area. We have 2,700 staff members. 99% of us are based in Washington, D.C., and we have small offices, like one in London. There's only 2 staff members there, in Paris, in Brussels, in Africa region, in Asia region, in Latin America. So, but there's only like about 100 of them, like outside Washington, D.C. area. We are, we have 147 countries represented at the IMF. We were founded in 1944 in the aftermath of World War II and Great Depression. So like many other UN organizations, we were founded because we want to promote cooperation, collaboration, multilateralism, because it is what we need, that, to promote global financial health, global financial stability, global economic stability, and inclusive growth, basically. So that's why we were founded in 1944. So our focus is mainly on macro economics. So a lot of people ask me, are you part of World Bank? No, we are not. So we are sister organizations. They're much larger. Their scope of work are wider, of course, because they handle poverty, they handle microeconomic level, like infrastructure, etc. While we focus on the global and on the macroeconomics. So that's the difference. And I'll talk a little bit more later. So almost all countries in the globe are represented at the IMF, 189. Okay, the last 2 that joined us are South Sudan and Nauru. So I think the ones who were not part of IMF is North Korea, Cuba. I'm trying to remember. There's the 2 other nationals that were not part of IMF. Okay. So what is our mandate? Basically, global economic and financial stability. So that's what we have to ensure. We promote economic cooperation. We work closely with the UN, World Bank, WTO, International Labour Organization. Okay, so we have 3 major objective mandate at the IMF. So the first one is policy assessment and advice. We call it surveillance, but we are not allowed to use surveillance because it feels like we're spying on countries. So basically, surveillance, what it means, like member countries. So imagine IMF like a large credit union where member countries put in some money, and then they have like voting powers, etc. So countries that are member of IMF, they got, with their membership, they got what we call an annual checkup, just like a doctor. So every year, we give you a report. Each country, we give you a report in terms of your economics health, financial health, okay? And then we also provide them with not only, bilateral for that specific country, but also overall, like a regional report of the economics and then global report of economics. So you can find all of this publication on our website. Okay? And then we do lending. Okay, we do lending to countries. We do not lend to enterprise, or we do not lend to individuals. We lend to countries, but only when they have balance of payment problems. World Bank, on the other hand, they provide financing for example, infrastructure building. So if you want to build bridges or road or infrastructure in certain countries, you can get a loan from World Bank. We do not do that. We only do lending to countries whenever the countries is like having like a problem in the balance of payment. They're like recovering from crisis, etc. Okay, and then capacity development. It's basically we provide technical assistance to member countries. For example, the member countries needs help in their bank regulation. So we send our expert there to teach member countries, the country authorities, central bank people, Minister of Finance people, to teach them in terms of how you do like a good banking supervision, banking regulation, or tax reform. So that's what we do. Okay. So surveillance, lending, and capacity development. And we also invite member countries to IMF, for them to go to courses, the latest methodology of, financial programming, etc. So we invite them as well. Okay, so I want to focus on this so that you have some idea in terms of how we are structured as an organization. So the IMF, it's a macroeconomics institution. So about half of our staff members are economists, okay? So of that half economists, let's say about 1,600 of us are economists. About half of them we recruit through what we call an entry level. It's an economist program, their PhD, etc. And then the other half we recruit as a mid-career. Those who are already experienced at the central bank, at academia, we recruit them. So that's we call a mid-career. And I'll talk more about that later. So economists, they're basically based in the purple and then the orange area, okay? So they either work focusing on certain region, Africa, Asia Pacific, European, Middle East, and Central Asia. And then basically they handle all sectors in that particular region. So for example, if you are an economist in Asia and Pacific, and you are in charge of, you are assigned to, we call it desk, I don't know why, Indonesia desk. So which means that you are in charge of monitoring the health of the Indonesia, and whenever we visit them and whenever they need technical assistance, we help them with that. So as an economist for Indonesia, I go there probably once a year or twice a year at the maximum, just to engage with the authority and to give them an update in terms of the economics outlook. Let's say if I'm in Argentina, so they are a program country because they're going through a crisis. I would go there more often, basically, because there are much more engagement that we need to do. So I would go there for probably 3 times or 4 times a year. So that's the difference. As an economist, I have the option to specialize on certain areas: fiscal, finance. Institute of Capacity Development is like an in-house university for the IMF. So we basically, the economists there, they teach staff, internal staff, but they also go outside and teach. We have academy in Vienna and then in Singapore. So we teach there, and then we invite country authorities from the region to teach there, or we go to specific countries and teach as per request by the member countries. Monetary and Capital Markets Department, this is where I was. So they basically handle all the, the monetary and capital market, shadow banking. They have the monetary and monetary operations, monetary policy. This is handled here. Research is research, so you focus on research. Statistics, strategy, policy, and review. This is basically, we call it the police of IMF. So what they do is they have every advice that we give to countries have to go through this department to make sure that we have a consistent approach and consistent advice to the department. So we don't want, this is like basically they want to make sure our standard basically is met. Legal, this is where our lawyers are, and communications, this is basically external relations. Then is this pink or red? It's pink. Okay, so the pink one is where the information liaison and support. This is where I'm based now. I'm in the Human Resources Department. Secretary Department is the one whenever the member, the board meets, or the representative of the country meets. They're the one who basically manage all of them. Corporate services and facilities, it's self-explanatory, and then information technology. We also have 3 offices: mediation, ethics, and ombudsperson. This is basically if staff have questions, they help facilitate through these 3 offices. Okay. So how is it like working at the IMF? So why do you choose IMF? You want to make an impact. So as an economist at the IMF, you really go to countries. You sit next to the central bank governor. They look for your advice, and you really make an impact to the economic growth of that particular country. So you really make a real contribution to worldwide issues. If you're an academic, you do a lot of research, but there's no, you don't see the impact. But as economists at the IMF, you do both. You do research, but you also do research that's applicable to the economic health of a country. Okay. So you gain a lot of experience at the IMF. When you come to the IMF, it's basically a start of like a wide range of career paths. Okay. In particular, if you are an economist, when you join IMF, at the HR department, we encourage everyone at the IMF to have mobility. So to enrich your career, not only upward, but also lateral. So we encourage economists, like every 3 years or 5 years, even 7 years is mandatory for them to move around. So if you spend some time in the area department, in the Asia Pacific department, we encourage you to move to another department, so to enrich basically your experience, okay? As an HR person even, I'm not in the core workforce, but I find that a lot of choices for me in terms of my career. I can go to departments, to become business partner, and every department is a different world, so different issues, etc. So I can do that. Within HRD, I can move around. I can be in talent acquisition. I can be in talent management. So there's a lot of choices for basically everyone, okay? The first, of course, we have 147 countries represented at the IMF. I don't think there's any, so everyone in my division basically come from different countries. So it's amazing the kind of experience and backgrounds that they bring. So it's not only nationalities, but also we promote both, two. We promote diversity in terms of nationality, also gender. We are really big in diversity. We really care about diversity. Every year we have a benchmark that we need to meet. Like for example, we have to recruit 50% of women every year. So each department is measured by the number of women that they are able to recruit, the number of countries from underrepresented countries that they recruit. So we really value diversity in our day-to-day work. Of course, travel, especially if you're an economist, you got to travel around the world. You got to travel to places that you never, that you never think you would travel on vacation by yourself. Of course, you will be working, but usually there's some time for you to take a break and then see the country by itself. Okay. So as I mentioned, at the IMF, we really value career development of staff. So imagine there's 1,000 economists with PhD at the IMF. So you learn from each other, okay? But then you also learn from top names. We invite them, I think, almost every day to IMF. So these are some of several examples of presenters that came to IMF to teach, to give workshops, to give seminars. We also have a panel discussion of high-level people. Stanley Fisher, Mark Carney, Elvira Nabulina, Raghu Rajam from Chicago, Noor Shamsia Yunus from Malaysia. So they really, we really offer a lot of things. Like literally every day I would see emails about seminars, workshops, in my inbox. My problem is to choose which one to go, basically. So that's my problem. Training, a lot of training that we offer. We also do a lot of coaching and mentoring on the job, and then we assign mentors to new hires. We collaborate a lot with each other. So almost every single work at the IMF is done in teams. So it's really exciting, if you enjoy working in teams, of course. So let's talk about the IMF program. So how many of you again in undergraduate programs? Okay. So we have what we call a research assistant program. So it's basically a 2-year program. Basically what you do, you provide support on the operational and policy work to senior economists, okay? So we target recent graduate economics with a bachelor degree. You have to have GPA 3.5, okay? So that's the requirement. So the field that, the other field that we are recruiting for is math, business, finance, computer science, so all related background that can help the work of economists. It's, of course, we pay salary, provide medical coverage because medical insurance is very expensive in the US, so, but we provide that. We provide relocation benefits. We pay you, of course, to come and then give you a ticket back to where you are. Application is, we are accepting applications now through spring, okay? So the offers are made on a rolling basis. So basically, there's no one day for a research assistant to be hired. So whenever the department have a vacancy, they will look at the pipeline, the research assistant program pipeline, and then they will interview, and then they will basically make an offer. So typically, because of the, as a research assistant program, after 2 years, you have to leave, basically. So either you go back to your school pursuing your graduate degree, or you go, work somewhere else. So that's why typically the turnover is around summer. That's where, because people start, the graduate program in the fall. So the applications is on right now. Okay. So the internship program, it's targeted for people with mostly PhD studies. Typically, they're in the 3rd or 4th year of PhD. Macroeconomics, we are also open to other related fields. Financial economics, labor economics. It's a paid internship in the summer, 12 weeks, about 12 weeks, June to September. And you will be working on a research project with a senior economist. It is a paid internship, so we provide salary and also medical coverage and relocation to Washington, D.C. area. We will start accepting application in December. So how the internship selection process works, basically, is a match of the candidate's background, research area, with the needs of the department. So if you are interested in the internship program, I encourage you to be as detailed as possible in terms of your area of expertise. Put an abstract of your research paper so that departments have a good idea in terms of the work that you would like to do. Because typically by December and January, department, they don't know yet what kind of project that they will have in the summer. So when the application closes in February, then they'll see the pool, and then they will say, oh, ABC has the background that I need for my project, so I'm going to interview them if you did well, and then they bring you to DC, okay? So the economist program, you see like the 50 years there, because the program has been going on for 50 years. We will celebrate in next year. So it's been there for 50 years. So clearly this is already a mature program. So the economist program is a 3-year program. It's have 2 rotations, each in 18 months. Our target audience is recent graduates with PhD economics. Anyone PhD economics? Okay, good. Are you in on the job market or not yet? Not yet. Okay. All right. So these are the areas that we are looking at: macroeconomics, public finance, monetary, econometrics. We are recruiting right now. Yesterday I was at the econ department here at LSE, giving the same talk but focus on this program. And we did the interview as well yesterday at the econ department. We still accept our application until November 14, if any of you interested in submitting your application. I'll talk about the benefits later because it applies to all full-time staff who joining the IMF. Anyone here have working experience? Yeah? 3 more years? 5 more years? Okay, okay, very good. Okay, so this is another avenue for someone to come to the IMF. The economist program has an age limit. It's because it's intended for a young professional. So you have to be 34 by the time you enter IMF. So if you are a more seasoned economist, you have working experience, and you are above the age limit. Experienced economist program is another venue that you can think about. So it's not a centralized program. The centralized part of it is the selection process. Once you pass the internal selection process, then you will be put in a pipeline, basically. And then the department, whenever they have a vacancy, then they will hire from that pipeline. Okay, so we look for some economists with a graduate degree. It doesn't have to be PhD. Master's is fine. And with relevant professional experience in economics issues, typically central bank, Ministry of Finance, other international organization, think tank, academia. Okay? The selection process, we have 3 rounds, not 3 rounds, basically 3 cycles. So it's open almost throughout the year, but typically in February, we'll open one, and then we close, and then we open again in June, and then we close, and then we open again in November. So basically that's the cycle, but almost all year round we recruit. Okay? Okay, so other careers. So we do recruit people, not an economist, through other careers, but they are not coming through a centralized program. So it's a vacancy base, basically. We are interested in someone with finance, communication, accounting, all of these languages, legal, procurement, IT, human resources. We typically look for someone with experience, at least 3 to 5 years of experience with master's degree. And then, as I said, it's vacancy based. So when you see the ad on the internet, on the IMF website, that's when we recruit. Okay. So I'll talk about the benefits later because it covers all career streams. All right. So most of our hires are located, they live overseas, so we of course fly them to Washington, D.C. area and give them round-trip ticket. We assist you with the shipment of your household belongings, and we offer very competitive annual salary because we are an international organization. Our income in Washington, D.C. is not subject to income tax, so you receive net of tax. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of working at the IMF. Any of you U.S. citizen? Okay, so they'll give you tax allowance to compensate because you still have to file tax, I think, as a U.S. nationals. We sponsor what we call the G4 visa. So it's a visa 1 level below diplomat, but without the immunity. So if you get a parking ticket, you still have to pay, okay? So, but the G4 visa comes with many benefits. Anyone here have a family, spouse, children? Okay. So basically, we also sponsor your spouse and then your children to come to the U.S. So if your spouse works, the IMF will work obtaining his or her work authorization. We engage with a law firm, so they will help. They will provide assistance to spouse in getting work authorization, and it's free of charge, of course. And your spouse can work in any fields that they want. Even before they apply for a job, we start processing their work authorization. You know, and then they can use that work authorization to apply to any type of work. So we really take care of the whole family here at the IMF. Now, as a G4 visa holder, not only you can bring your family, your direct family, you can also, you're eligible to bring your parents from your home country, okay? So, you know, provided that you can justify that they are financially dependent on you. So we can help bring your parents to Washington, D.C. area, okay? So there's another benefits of being a G4 visa at the IMF. We offer expatriates benefits, basically. So expatriates benefits apply to if you were hired as a staff member, basically. So expatriates benefit comes in two areas. The first one is home leave. Basically, we fly you and your family to go back to your home country every 18 to 24 months. We pay for your full fare economy round-trip ticket, and we give you some cash allowance. And then the other thing is education allowance, which means that we provide assistance, 75% subsidy of your children's tuition. Okay. Annual leave, we provide 26 days of annual leave. In the U.S., it's very generous. I know in Europe, it's like it's okay. That's different. But if you work for private sector in the U.S., like this is like it's like super high. Like my husband only get 15 days, and then he said that it doesn't make sense that you have like 26 days. And then if you get sick, it's a separate. It comes from a separate envelope. It's 15 days. So. Again, that's very generous for U.S. standard. And we offer paid parental leave, 12 weeks for mothers and 8 weeks for fathers, up to 3 children if you have like more than 3 children. I don't think we have had that case yet. So again, that's very generous compared to U.S. standard. In the U.S., you have to take disability leave. I don't know why parental leave is called disability, but that's how it's called. Or you take unpaid leave basically. So compared to DC area, this is like super generous, and we really enjoy this benefit. They're thinking about increasing it even more. Okay, nobody is probably thinking about retirement. Okay, so but the retirement, our retirement is one of the very few that still exists, because it's a combination of defined benefit and defined contribution. It's very generous because the IMF put in some money as well in your retirement. So just to give you an example, if you join as an EP, right, because it depends on how much you earn, and then after 3 years you leave, then you can cash out about $100,000. So that's how generous. But I know you're not thinking about this, though. I talk about the development, career development of staff. So we talk about trainings, very extensive. But the other thing that how we support staff's career development is also through the HR policy. So not only we encourage people, and we make it even mandatory for people to move departments for economists, but we offer what we call leave without pay. So there are 2 types of leave without pay. For example, if you would like to take care of your aging parents, or if you would like to travel around the world, I'm so sick of where I just want to get out, 2 years. You can do that, no questions asked. We'll save your positions. You can come back and your position's still there. We guarantee you your positions. The other way of taking leave without pay, if you would like to try, you said, oh, I wish I work in academia, I wish I work in that area, or I'm bored at the IMF, I would like to try working outside, but I'm not ready to let go of my positions. you can take what we call leave without pay in the interest of the fund. So as long as you can convince us that the experience that you will gain outside will be beneficial for IMF when you come back, you can take that program. The difference is that, of course, you still don't get paid, but we still contribute to your pension and to your medical, and we provide some benefits that we still contribute. Again, we save your positions when you come back. So a lot of people are taking advantage of this because maybe that's why they stay, because they can do many different things, not only at the IMF, but also outside, and they still come back at the IMF. I talk about the expatriates, health. Again, health benefits very expensive in the US, but we subsidize them. We provide medical and dental coverage globally around the world because we do travel. We care a lot about wellness, well-being of our employee who play soccer. Who plays soccer? Oh, that's it? That's all? Okay. Oh, good. Okay, good. Soccer is big because there's a lot of, you know, the Latin American and then Europe. They're really big in soccer at the IMF. So as you can see, happy faces. We have like an annual championship. We have not only soccer club, badminton club. Who plays badminton? No. We have running club. You know, DC area is fabulous for running, for outdoors, and then for ride bicycle. So we have clubs that caters to any interest. If you're not into sports, we have like orchestra, we have like the theater, a lot of interest groups. So you never feel alone, basically, at the IMF. Okay. So we offer what we call flexible work-life balance arrangement. You can work from home based on the agreement with your supervisor. We have what we call CWS, it's a compressed work schedule. So you get paid basically every 2 weeks. So you have to work 80 hours per 2 weeks, which means you work on average 8 hours per day. So you can work 9 hours per day, so 1 hour extra, and you get the 10 days off, basically. So that's what we call the compressed work schedule. We have on-site health clinic, not only to give you immunization, travel immunization, you know, before you go to certain countries, but also if you get sick, etc., there's a doctor, like a full-fledged clinic at the IMF jointly with World Bank. On-site gym, childcare, cafeteria, rec center, but the rec center is off-site, so in Maryland. Okay, so I talk about the social. All right, so just briefly about the Economist program. So in case you are interested in the future, so these are the stages, basically. Right now, we are doing stage 1 and stage 2. We do preliminary assessment. We do like preliminary interview, just brief interview. We look at your professional letter of reference, academic grades, and then there's an assessment day in Washington, D.C., where you will have a more in-depth interview, panel interview, writing test, job market paper review, and we make offers in February. And everyone starts as a cohort in September. So there's we hire about 25 people per year, basically. Okay. Yeah. So if you're interested eventually to apply to the IMF through the Economist program or even through mid-career. So because we are, again, even though we're interested in any in non-macro area, you know, we are still a macro institution. So refresh your knowledge of macroeconomics, keep up with current affairs, work financial economics events, think about what's the impact of your research, of your work at the regional and global level. And for the Economist program candidates, when you talk about your job market paper, think about what's the policy implications of your findings, basically, because we want you to be able to explain to us what's in it for us, to hire you, basically. That's it. So, do you have any questions? Yes, your name?
Speak more about the other career opportunities, like what I'm getting a sense it's more targeted towards economists.
Oh, the experienced economists?
No, I'm just asking like for other careers. Let's say if someone has a master's degree and is interested in careers in finance, If you can just provide information regarding how many people you hire.
Okay. Yeah. So the question is, if you have a degree, master's degree in finance, and with some work experience, I assume.
Yes.
So how many people we hire every year? So it varies. So again, it's vacancy based. For someone with finance background, what I can think of is accounting officer or finance officer. So that would be in the finance department. It could be also for budget officer. Budget officer, they manage the internal budget of the departments basically. Or they manage budget for, because we have donor funding in the Institute and Capacity Development, so they manage that funding. So that's one area that I can see.
And what do you call that?
Budget officer.
Okay.
Budget officer. So it varies every year. I can say, I don't have the numbers, but we do hire externally.
That's all for Washington location?
Washington. All positions are Washington, D.C. based. Yeah. Yeah.
If you could just wait for the mic, just
Yeah.
for the benefit of everybody. Thanks.
I was just wondering, because most of the programs that you talked about were for PhD only, and then one was, because I'm a master's student, and I was just wondering, which one.
What's your background? What's your master's degree?
So business.
Business, okay. So one area that I can see someone with a master's degree in business, it's probably for a vacancy-based position. So the research assistant program is it's targeted for undergrad, but we do hire a research officer. Okay, so that's one level up because you have a master's degree. But again, it's vacancy-based. When we have a vacancy need, so we'll post it on our website. So research officer, typically what they bring, of course, a higher level of education. They bring a much sophisticated, technical background, modeling, etc. And then they bring their work experience. Okay. And then essentially the core work is also to support the work of the economists, but you just bring much more specific area. For example, research assistant program is much more general, so it can be for any department. But departments who hire research officer, typically they're the one who needs specific skill. Like for example, in the monetary and capital market department, they want a research officer, someone not only with skills that they learn in academia, but also experience working in an investment bank, for example, so that they have that context to help them. Okay, so it's very specific for the needs of that department. I think I saw someone here. Yeah.
Mine was more regarding internships rather than like.
Sorry, could you
I think
yeah. It's just so people behind you can hear you. Thanks.
My question was more regarding internships rather than like job placements.
Okay.
I'm also have a master's in business.
Okay.
What program would you same?
Yeah. So the internship program, as it stands right now, is only for economists, PhD economists. So for master's students, it's a full-fledged, basically a full-time, like a longer term, not a through-in internship. Yeah. I think you need to have the mic. Sorry, maybe I should focus in one area and then one in there. Yeah, I think they're recording this, so they need to have it.
Okay. I guess my question is for legal internships, for example, how does that work? Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So the legal internship program, they do hire one or two. So they advertise together with the fun internship program, so almost at the same time. So they're looking for those with who's pursuing a graduate degree in law, and it's the same principle. They look at what your background, what you're working on, and they try to match it with whatever work program that they have for that particular summer. So be specific when you submit your application. This is the area that I'm focusing on, I'm good at, and I'm interested in, and I have a lot of background in this. So then. So that they can match it. So once you're shortlisted, they'll give you a call, usually by phone, and then interview you. Okay? So, but it's the same scheme. It's a paid internship. You know, we fly you to DC, etc. Okay, let's focus on this. So there's no like back and forth of mic. Okay.
Thank you. I'm more interested in position called the financial sector specialist.
Okay.
So if you join the IMF through this like experienced economist program, like is there any probability that like you're going to be assigned to the financial sector specialist as well?
Okay. So the financial sector experts, they don't go through the central program. So again, it is vacancy based. Okay. So it's the Monetary and Capital Markets Department who hires financial sector experts, basically. These are experts in capital markets, experts in banking regulations, expert in banking supervision, monetary operations, financial crisis. So that's the area that we typically hire for, and then also technical assistance as well, if you have that background. So it's a vacancy based. Usually it starts as a contractual. 2 years contractual, because the needs is not part of the core mandate. Basically, there's not like a permanent need, because the needs is usually based on the country needs. Does that answer your question?
When you say contractual, you mean like, let's say if someone needs the work visa, do you?
Oh, well, visa for everyone. Even for internship, we do.
For contractual.
Yes, even for internship, we do sponsor visa.
Nice presentation, by the way. For your monetary and capital markets division, do you only hire expert people or people who have extended experience?
Okay.
Or?
So monetary capital markets department is a little bit different. So it's a little bit special. It's one of the largest economics department. We do hire economist program participant for that department. We hire experienced economists, like in macroeconomists. We hire financial sector experts to work in Washington, D.C. area, okay? So from time to time, there is a need for like we call field expert, okay? So field expert, so you be contracted but only for a short period of time, because we want, if you have a certain expertise in the areas that I already mentioned. So we hire you for like 1 month to come to accompany an economist from the headquarters to go to certain country and provide technical assistance. So, but again, that is like on a vacancy base, so we do not hire a central program.
Okay, so there are no roles for inexperienced hires?
Sorry?
There are no roles in that division for inexperienced hires?
So, so those without the experience, without work experience, we hire through the economist program, basically. Yeah. Yes. Mike, yeah.
There's one over there first.
Oh, okay, so let's do this first.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
I had 2 questions. First one, as a financial expert, what do you typically require as, let's say, work experience or education experience? And second question, can we apply to research assistant, although we are master students?
Okay. So for the financial sector expert, we typically look for someone with a graduate degree and probably 7 to 10 years of working experience, because it's experts, right? I mean, we hire someone that brings a significant years of experience. Typically, this experience is acquired in the central bank. You are an expert in the central bank, in a think tank, in Ministry of Finance, or in other financial institution, or academia. But academia is less so. It's more like a practical experience, typically at the central bank. Or
like no experience in, let's say, banking industry kind of. That doesn't
like investment bank, you said?
Yeah, or like.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think that's probably for the capital markets department, financial sector expert. We do hire people with background in capital markets. So that's typically from investment bank. But you need to have like very significant years of experience for that.
Right. And for the
research assistant, okay. So the research assistant program is purely for undergrad. So as I mentioned, I think one of your colleagues here, if you have a master's degree, so that would be for research officer. So, but that is but you have to look for. It's a vacancy base, so we don't hire all year round. I mean, like whenever there's a vacancy, we will post it online.
I mean, we cannot apply
for research assistant. You can apply, but you're not eligible, basically, for research assistant, yeah. for research assistant program. I think if you have a master's, go for research officer. I mean, research is it's a higher level of for work. I think it's much more beneficial for your career. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it here.
So in terms of policy and also research, economists tend to draw a lot from the other social sciences as well. So I was wondering if there are any other job opportunities for people from the social sciences apart from economics. Suppose, like, for example, I'm from migration studies. So a lot of the economics also draws from migration patterns and dynamics of particular countries.
Okay.
So
yeah. So we are interested in people who comes from a non-macroeconomics background because we are doing a lot of inclusive growth, climate change, gender equality, etc. However, again, we're going back to our core mandate, which is macroeconomics stability. So if there's a macro-critical issue in your area of expertise, we would be interested in your application. Okay, but it's probably not through the main channels, the economics program of experience. It's probably for more like a short-term projects or something like that. So it's not really thing. Your background probably fit better at the World Bank because they have a much more variety of areas. They hire from all kind of sectors. Yeah.
So I'm interested in the economics program.
Sure.
And I'm doing a PhD in development economics.
Sure.
So, but at the moment, I'm actually looking at development microeconomics because I'm studying individuals, not like at the macro level. So, but as well as that, I've got 6 years experience in teaching, which involves macroeconomics concepts. So I was thinking, as a side, I do other macro research on my own, not part of my PhD. So would you encourage me to apply for this program or not?
So again, our core work is macroeconomics. We do hire people from development economics, but to be honest with you, there are not many, and the area of expertise have macro relevant. I think we hire applied microeconomics people. So recently we hired someone with climate change, like environmental economics background. But as long as you shown interest in macroeconomics and you have good knowledge in macroeconomics, it's because the test is designed like that, right? So I would encourage you to give it a try. And if your research has a macro economics implications, so we are always interested in that. Okay?
Okay.
Let's. Yeah, and then next one after that.
Thank you. I just want to know whether we can have some part-time opportunities or some job for the contract for our master students, and my major is in economics.
So we don't have many part-time jobs. Most of our jobs are full-time. A contract is so there are two types of employment type. Whether you hire as a staff member or you hire on a contract. Contract means like a shorter term. So a contract is really different depending on the positions. Research assistant program is a contract because it's 2 years. Most research officers are also contractual because the needs is not long term, but it's on a project base or it's only for budgetary reason, etc. So we do have that. But it's not an ongoing thing, so it's a vacancy based.
So it means it needs experience for the contract members.
For a contract,
we need experience, right?
For most of them, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. So from my understanding, so the only program that master's student with no experience that can apply is the research officer,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Just pass it on in front of you, I think. And then we go then. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
My first question is, how big is your legal department?
I'm sorry, legal
how
department.
How big is the legal department, and what kind of roles does the legal officer take on?
Okay.
And then the other one is the requirement for at least 3 years experience strict, or you could lower it to maybe 2 years?
Okay, all right. So for legal, right? That's your question. So legal department, I think it's less than 100. It's very tiny because overall we are only 2,700. So I would say about 50 to 60 people. So the lawyers at the IMF, they do two things. They do internal review of HR policy, basically administrative review. But they do also when IMF has like a concessional contract with the country authorities, they review that legal document as well. So there are the two sides of that. So the type of people that they're looking for, they typically hire people with experience. If you're experienced in other IFIs, international financial institution, or other UN institution, that would be a plus. Or if you have experience in a central bank, so that would be a plus as well. Okay.
Thanks for the presentation.
Yeah.
For the experienced economist program, do you need to have an economics PhD or an economics master's?
Or experience?
Yeah.
Master's.
So, but it has to be like a master's in economics?
Yes, master's with 7 years of experience. PhD, I think with 3 years minimum, yeah. Yeah.
I had a question about the fund internship program.
Sure.
Is that also eligible for master's students? Because I was under the impression it was. And also, after submitting the application, are there any additional steps like interviews or any other assessment for that particular program?
So we are a little bit relaxed in terms of fund internship program. If you have master's degree, you're eligible to apply, of course. However, keep in mind that your competitor, they all have PhD, 3 to 4, year 3 and year 4. Because we focus a lot on research project for the internship, if you have a master's degree and you have a sufficient number of research you have published, etc., put that in, so that then you can compete with PhD student. Because the experience that the PhD student brings, they have a much more, they have more publications, etc., which are more relevant for IMF. But if you have a master's degree and you have already research, put that in your resume so that you become more competitive. And then your other question is?
Are there any interviews or any other assessments?
Yes. So basically, once you are shortlisted for a certain project, they call you. Basically, it's only a phone interview. How much time do I have? None? One more question. One more question? Okay.
Hi, thank you. Could you just talk a little bit about like the focus on sustainability, environmental issues at the fund, and how that's been changing over the years recently?
Sustainability issues, like in terms of policy, etc.
Yeah, like how climate change issues
Yes.
and things have
Oh,
changed
yes, it's a
the
big
work
thing
you're
now.
doing.
So it's very big, like because we have a change of managing director, Christine Lagarde, who now moved to ECB. We really care about climate change because we think that it impacts macroeconomics because, with the tax for the emission, etc. So it really, it's increasingly important for us. It's not in the core mandate yet because these issues are new, but we, our new managing director, Kristalina, she keeps talking about it, and then we are very interested in this issue, basically. So, what's your background?
I worked in finance, now I'm doing environmental policies master.
Okay, it's very good. Okay, so I'll be outside here, I think, like right outside this auditorium. If you have any questions, stop by, and we have some brochures there as well. Thank you very much for coming and for attending this presentation.